time here to give us an update on this developing situation as it unfolds, Allie.
Yeah, of course, President speaking to the public just a couple of days ago, kind of talking about how, this is being ramped up as a situation that doesn't need to be taken that seriously. But again, we are confirming the first United States case right here in Washington State where someone has died from coronavirus. The president creating a task force. We can tell you Vice President Mike Pence is leading up that task force regarding coronavirus. Of course, after learning about the first U.S. death here and other presumed cases in King County, the president holding a news conference here. We are expecting him to speak about this at any moment now. Of course, we're expecting some answers of what we're going to be doing next. And maybe the tone might be a little bit different this time, Omar.
Absolutely. And we have a statement this morning here from Governor Inslee. We can pull that up for you here in a little bit. But what he basically says, calling this a sad day for the state of Washington, of course, also saying that he is ramping up preparedness and response efforts in hopes of keeping this coronavirus under control. You're looking at live pictures, the president about to address us about the coronavirus. Let's listen in.
Before we begin, I'd like to congratulate all of those incredible people that have worked for so long on our endless war in Afghanistan, 19 years, going on 20 years, and there hasn't been a moment like this. We've had very successful negotiations. We think they'll be successful in the end. The other side's tired of war. Everybody's tired of war. That's been a particularly long and gruesome one. And I want to congratulate President Ghani and the people of Afghanistan. I want to remember all of the people, all of the great men and women that have lost their lives in the war, and to their parents and wives and husbands and families, brothers and sisters. It's a great people. Many lives over such a long period of time have been lost. I want to thank our wounded warriors, people that are still bearing pain and all of the problems that they've had to go through. They're incredible people, incredible spirit. I'd go to Walter Reed and see them so often, and the spirit they had, they wanted to go back. Despite their wounds, they always said, I want to go back. Wounded warriors, they're incredible people. I guess most of all, I want to thank all of the people in the United States for having spent so much in terms of blood, in terms of treasure and treasury, the money that has been spent, the lives that have been lost. And we just signed an agreement that puts us in a position to get it done, bring us down to in the vicinity of 8,000 troops. The United Nations was informed of everything, and NATO has been great. Secretary Stoltenberg has been fantastic. And I want to thank the United Nations for the help they gave, and I also want to thank and congratulate Secretary Stoltenberg of NATO. 29 countries involved, and all approving, all very happy with what's going on. I want to also thank and congratulate Secretary of State Pompeo and Secretary of Defense Mark Esper. And I'll be meeting personally with Taliban leaders in the not too distant future. And we'll be very much hoping that they will be doing what they say they're going to be doing. They will be killing terrorists. They will be killing some very bad people. They will keep that fight going. We've had tremendous success in Afghanistan in the killing of terrorists, but it's time, after all these years, to go and to bring our people back home. We want to bring our people back home. And again, it's been a long journey in Afghanistan in particular. It's been a very long journey. It's been a hard journey for everybody. We're very largely a law enforcement group, and that's not what our soldiers are all about. They're fighters. They're the greatest fighters in the world. As you know, we've destroyed in Syria and Iraq 100% of the ISIS caliphate, 100%. We have thousands of prisoners. We've killed ISIS fighters by the thousands. And likewise in Afghanistan, but now it's time for somebody else to do that work, and that'll be the Taliban. And it could be surrounding countries. There are many countries that surround Afghanistan that can help. We're 8,000 miles away. So we'll be bringing it down to 8,000 to approximately 8,600 in that vicinity. And then we'll make our final decision some point in the fairly near future. But this was a very spirited agreement. There was a lot of talk. There was a lot of everything. They've been trying to get this for many years, and just it's time. So I just want to thank everybody. I want to congratulate everybody. I really believe the Taliban wants to do something to show that we're not all wasting time. If bad things happen, we'll go back. I let the people know we'll go back, and we'll go back so fast, and we'll go back with a force like nobody's ever seen. And I don't think that will be necessary. I hope it's not necessary. And so I just wanted to bring that up before we begin on a topic that has become very, very important to everybody. First of all, the amount of work that these professionals behind me and many other professionals in many rooms behind us who are watching right now, I don't have the room here to bring them all in, but they have been working round the clock so hard on the coronavirus. It's a tough one, but a lot of progress has been made. I want to provide an update to our people, to our citizens, to the world, frankly, on our action to address the coronavirus and those that have been hurt badly by it. At this moment, we have 22 patients in the United States currently that have coronavirus. Unfortunately, one person passed away overnight. She was a wonderful woman, a medically high-risk patient in her late 50s. 4 others are very ill. Thankfully, 15 are either recovered fully or they're well on their way to recovery. And in all cases, they've been let go in their home. Additional cases in the United States are likely, but healthy individuals should be able to fully recover. And we think that will be a statement that we can make with great surety now that we've gotten familiar with this problem. They should be able to recover should they contract the virus. So healthy people, if you're healthy, you will probably go through a process and you'll be fine. Since the early stages of the foreign outbreak, my administration has taken the most aggressive action in modern history to confront the spread of this disease. We moved very early. That was one of the decisions we made that really turned out to be a lifesaver in a sense, big lifesaver. On January 31st, I imposed travel restrictions on foreign nations who had, and anybody that had been to China or people coming out of China. And I want to say that China seems to be making tremendous progress. Their numbers are way down, and if you read Tim Cook of Apple said that they're now in full operation again in China. Their numbers are way down. Experts now agree that the decision to move so quickly, despite a lot of opposition on that decision, was a wise one. It greatly slowed the spread of the virus to the United States, and it really gave us time to do some of the critical moves that we've done. And it allowed these great professionals to get together and figure it all out. And we think they've done that. We've taken the most aggressive actions to confront the coronavirus. They are the most aggressive taken by any country. And we're the #1 travel destination anywhere in the world, yet we have far fewer cases of the disease than even countries with much less travel or a much smaller population. As an important part of our efforts, on Monday I'll be meeting with the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, actually. They'll be coming to the White House, and we're talking about a vaccine and developing very quickly, and they've already started working on it, developing very rapidly a vaccine for the virus, to combat the virus. And we're having very good initial feedback. But these companies will be coming to the White House on Monday. Tremendous amounts of supplies are already on hand. We have 43 million masks, which is far more than anyone would have assumed we could have had so quickly. And a lot more are coming. Today, the White House Coronavirus Task Force, led by Vice President Mike Pence, they met for 2.5 hours. I spent a lot of that time with them also, and we came up with some ideas, recommendations, and frankly, some pretty strict edicts that we're going to be going by, and Mike's going to be discussing that. But we are really having a group of people that is so talented, and they're working round the clock. And for that reason, I really would wish that we could report exactly what's happened, how well we're doing under quite adverse circumstances. But we're doing really well, very, very professionally handled. Our country is prepared for any circumstance. We hope it's not going to be a major circumstance. It'll be a smaller circumstance, but whatever the circumstances, we're prepared. And I'd like to just ask and caution that the media, we would respectfully ask the media and politicians and everybody else involved not do anything to incite a panic, because there's no reason to panic at all. This is something that is being handled professionally. I also want to thank, by the way, governors and representatives of our various states, in some cases, some more than others, because they've really been working very hard in areas where we've seen indication of the virus. But I want to thank the governors and all of the representatives from all of our states. The rooms they've made available, the speed with which they've worked has really been incredible. So, again, thank you to everybody. I'm going to ask Mike Pence now to discuss a little bit about travel. And we have some restrictions on some travel from other countries that are having a hard time. And I want to thank everybody. We'll take some questions as soon as we're finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me begin, as the President did, by expressing our deepest condolences to the family of the woman in Washington State who's lost her life to the coronavirus. I want to assure that family that they're on the hearts of every American and those that are continuing to struggle. In some cases, in ICU units, can be assured of the prayers of millions of Americans. From the moment that this country learned of the spread of the coronavirus, President Donald Trump took decisive action, established the White House Coronavirus Task Force, and as the President just described, the President took unprecedented action to suspend all travel into the United States from China. It simply had never been done before by any previous administration. It is among the reasons why the threat to Americans of coronavirus remains low, despite today's tragic news from Washington State. The task force met this morning and brought the President a range of options, and at his direction, we will be doing the following. First, the President authorized action today to add additional travel restrictions on Iran. We will be using Section 212F, banning travel from Iran. Iran is also already under a travel ban, but we are expanding existing travel restrictions to include any foreign national who has visited Iran within the last 14 days. In addition to moving Iran, we are going to increase to the highest level of advisory, which is level 4, advising Americans do not travel to specific regions in Italy and South Korea. Let me say again, the President today has authorized the State Department to increase the travel advisory for Americans to level 4. We are urging Americans to not travel to the areas in Italy and the areas in South Korea that are most affected by the coronavirus. The President's also directed the State Department to work with our allies in Italy and in South Korea to coordinate a screening, a medical screening in their countries of any individuals that are coming in to the United States of America, and we look forward to working with them in a collaborative and a cooperative way. Now, with regard to the task force, I'm just a few days into this job, but I can tell you, having spent time with these extraordinary professionals that the President just alluded to, having spoken directly to more than a dozen governors, including Governor Jay Inslee this morning in Washington State, I think every American would be proud to know what I've heard about the work of HHS, the work of CDC, the work of all of our agencies. At the President's direction, this team has been working seamlessly with health officials at the state and local level. And I can assure the American public that we will continue to live out the President's admonition a few days ago that we're all in this together. And as we work with members of Congress, I've had the opportunity to speak with Republican and Democrat leadership in the Congress. We'll be working very closely on a supplemental funding bill to make sure that not only do all these agencies have the resources that they require, but we'll also make sure that state and local health officials have the resources and the reimbursement to take such actions that are necessary to protect the health of the American people. The President mentioned masks. This morning we talked a great deal about additional medical supplies. Let me be very clear, and I'm sure the physicians who are up here will reflect this as well. The average American does not need to go out and buy a mask. But this administration is going to always put first our patients first, and second, we're going to make sure and protect the health of our healthcare providers. As the President said, we have more than 40 million masks available today. We've contracted now with 3M to 35 million more masks per month will be produced, and we're also going to be working with other manufacturers. In addition to that, the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response will be announcing today courses of action to increase the availability of masks, as well as prioritizing availability to high-risk healthcare workers, modifying guidance, and developing a whole-of-nations communications plan. The President wants us to be certain that our healthcare providers have the support they need to do their job and to do their job safely. With that, I'm going to yield the podium to the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and then we'll hear from some of our medical experts. But let me assure every American.
Okay, so as we come back out here live, we were just listening to the President and the Vice President address the coronavirus, specifically the first United States death that was confirmed right here in Washington State. Going on to talk about that woman was a patient in her 50s, in her late 50s, saying that she was medically at risk. The President went on to say that, I can quote this here, if you are healthy, you will probably go through a process and you'll be fine. He's saying that healthy individuals should recover here just fine from coronavirus if they do, in fact, contract the virus. They are expecting more cases here in the United States. They kind of gave a breakdown here that we had that one overnight death, that woman in her 50s. 4 others are really ill, the president said. Those are his words. And then 15 others are on the road to recovery.
Also talking about the cure for this, talking about a vaccine, and that's developing rapidly, and that they're going to be talking to pharmacists and pharmaceutical companies on Monday there at the White House, speaking with them about trying to come up with that vaccine and what that process will look like. So that's something else they mentioned, as well as some travel restrictions to parts of Iran. That was something that Vice President Mike Pence also announced here this morning. We're putting this number here on your screen. This is from the Washington Department of Health. This is their coronavirus call center hotline number. If you have any concerns, any questions, any symptoms, anything like that, you can call this number right there on your screen, the number 1-800-525-0127, and then press the pound button there, and that'll get you all the information and help you need here locally.
Yeah, because I'm sure you have questions. And to add there, you talked about Mike Pence saying that there were some travel restrictions with Iran. They actually increased the level 4 travel restrictions for any American to travel to a certain part of Italy that has a local outbreak there, as well as South Korea. We are expecting to hear from the King County Health Department, as well as the Washington State Department of Health here at 1 o'clock. We will continue to have that coverage right here for you on Joe TV and Q13, so be sure to join us for that continuing comprehensive coverage on the latest, the first United States death of the coronavirus right here, a woman in her late 50s in King County. We'll see you here for that coverage at 1 o'clock.
This sport is a real thing.
What is all of this?
We're being hunted. They're not human beings.
Everybody get down! Jesus!
This country belongs to us.
I'm in.
In.
What is happening?
It hasn't even started yet.
What's the plan?
You better start running.
Hurry up!
You're not getting away with this.
Rated R.
What is happening? What is all of this?
We hunt human beings for sport.
They're not human beings. You one of them?
They're playing you!
Rated R.
We see you trying, and the effort is for real. But don't forget you could just show her how you feel.
make the moment mean more.
Jared.
What is happening? What is all of this?
We hunt human beings for sport.
They're not human beings. You one of them?
They're playing you! Rated R.
There are now 2 new presumed cases of coronavirus here in our state, both in Western Washington. We'll tell you why one case is unusual and what health officials are doing to stop it from spreading. Also, the simple things they say you should do to stay prepared.
Plus, presidential candidates, including President Donald Trump, making their last push in South Carolina ahead of their primary this morning. Hear their message to voters.
And after some sunshine this past week, the rain is back in the forecast. Grace Lim is here telling us how long it'll last before we dry out once again.
This is Q13 News This Morning.
Hey, good Saturday morning to you. So glad to have you here waking up with us. I'm Omar Lewis.
And I'm Allie Bradley. So glad to be here with you on this Saturday morning. A lot to get to here this morning. So let's start with Grace Lim. Grace, we've had some nice weather over the last couple of days, but all good things must come to an end.
That's okay. We're just waking up to an overcast sky right now in Seattle. We did see rainy and breezy conditions last night, but things have really relaxed this morning. 42 degrees right now in Seattle and winds out of the southwest at 7 miles per hour. As we take a look at satellite radar, tracking some passing showers this morning and also some mountain snow. We do have a winter weather advisory in effect today. Otherwise, today, expect scattered showers this afternoon. Should be off and on in nature, possibly an isolated thunderstorm. High temperatures topping off in the upper 40s. Back to you.
All right, Grace, thank you. New here this morning, there are 2 new presumed cases of coronavirus in our state, both in Western Washington. Both were confirmed by state officials, but are pending confirmation by the CDC.
One case is a King County woman who recently traveled to South Korea. It's the first known case in this county. She's in home isolation right now. The other is a high school student in Snohomish County.
Yeah, so our Simone Del Rosario joining us now this morning to explain why this case here is more unusual. Good morning, Simone.
Good morning. Well, this high school student did not travel, and so far health officials have no idea how he contracted the virus. That means this could be Washington's first case of community spread. Here's a live look at where this high schooler goes to school here. The teenager is a student at Jackson High School in Mill Creek. Officials say he got sick Monday with a fever, body aches, and a headache. It's important to note he did not go to school after feeling sick, but did visit 2 health clinics in Snohomish County. He tried to return to school yesterday after feeling better, but his test came back positive, and they were able to catch him and send him home before he could get into the classroom. Still, officials are having students who did come into contact with him stay home for the next 14 days. And they're warning us today we will see more cases.
So we have been saying that the risk is low because, up to this point, that's what we've believed the risk was low. Now that, we have the assay in our state public health laboratory, we're going to be able to test more and we're going to find more individuals. So we really believe that the risk at this point is increasing.
Well, health officials are also working to track down any healthcare providers and other patients he may have crossed paths with when he went to those 2 clinics. Remember, this and the King County case we're talking about this morning are both presumptive positives. That means the testing we have here in the state came back positive, but it still needs to be confirmed with the CDC. Now, the school is going to spend the next 3 days doing a deep disinfecting sanitization, so they will be closed Monday. In addition, the regional games that were scheduled to be played there at Jackson High School today, those are going to be moved to Shorewood. But as it stands right now, we're looking at possible community spread in Washington State, Oregon now, and California as well. Allie, back to you.
Wow, all right. Thank you so much, Simone, for that information. So state health officials, they're actually saying neither patient here is seriously ill. In the meantime, though, they do say that the best way to protect yourself is really to just take some really simple steps.
So here's what you can do. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Don't go to school or work if you're sick. Also, avoid large crowds and close contact with other people. Despite the growing fears and warnings, health officials want to stress one message here this morning.
The idea is, don't panic, be prepared, because there are things you can do to reduce your risk. The steps that we've mentioned and the measures that we are taking shouldn't scare people. The measures that we are taking and may recommend are to help decrease their risk.
So this all comes as Snohomish County health officials say a person who was in close contact with an employee from Bothell High School tested negative for the virus.
Yeah, so Bothell High School, that was closed Thursday and Friday. You'll probably recall this. It was all out of an abundance of caution as crews worked to clean the campus. The North Shore School District Superintendent sent out a letter to families saying that there is a King County public health official